Jordan Reid, NFL draft analyst for ESPN, is with us on 93.7 The Fan. Jordan, who is your number one ranked quarterback in this draft?
First and foremost, good afternoon to you guys, and thank you so much for sharing the kind words.
Yeah, man.
It means a lot. It means a lot hearing you mention stuff like that about me. It's been a great journey for me, but my top quarterback in this draft is Malik Willis, the quarterback from Liberty. Just getting to know Malik a little bit throughout the pre-draft process. I mean, everything from a character standpoint checks out, and then you just put on the tape, and he just oozes potential. Didn't have the greatest surroundings as far as the offensive line and weapons, and then he kind of was just out there battling himself, or I should say out there battling by himself at times. The accuracy is a bit spotty with him, and then also just the consistency. That's something that he needs to work on, and that's why I say he is the ultimate project, but he fits the mold as far as some of the quarterbacks that have come into the league and had a lot of success from a mobility standpoint and then an arm strength standpoint. I think he checks all those boxes.
Jordan, what is the impact going to be on him professionally adjusting to the NFL game, having played in that Hugh Freeze offense down there?
It's going to be a big adjustment just because the Hugh Freeze offense, it really attacks the perimeter. There aren't a lot of throws over the middle of the field, and that's something that you very rarely see Malik attack consistently. I should say he doesn't really attack the middle of the field or between the hashes very consistently. That's something that he needs to work on a lot going into the next level. But as far as outside the numbers, those throws outside of the hash, I think he did that much more consistently during his senior season or during his final season at Liberty. So I think it's going to be a bit of a learning curve from him. And then also him playing so much hero ball during his last season at Liberty, it developed some really bad habits as far as leaving the pocket prematurely, not seeing, diagnosing, and then executing to get certain coverages. Just little things like that as far as the nuances and details of playing the position. That's why I think he needs to sit and learn a little bit before he plays or becomes a starter in the next level.
Okay, I think that's something the Steelers would want to do with him. That's a really good point, Jordan. Would you encourage the Steelers at 20? Are you sold on Malik Willis enough, Jordan, where you would encourage them to move up to get him? If they got to move up 10 spots, do you even think they'd have to do something like that? Your thoughts on the Steelers trading up to get Malik Willis?
I mean, everybody says that this class is underwhelming, and I do agree somewhat with that, but we've been so spoiled, guys, with great quarterback classes over the past few years, and what makes this class so different is that not only do we not know who the number one overall pick is going to be, but we don't know who the first quarterback is going to be and where it's going to happen. That hasn't happened over the past 3 years. Kyler Murray in 2019, Joe Burrow in 2020, then also last year with Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
We knew who that guy was going to be. So I think that's what makes this class so polarizing. But with Malik, I mean, we've seen the Steelers, when they target somebody that they really like, they aren't afraid to use first-round draft capital. It happened with Minkah Fitzpatrick when they made that trade, and then it also happened with Devin Bush the last time the Steelers were at the number 20 overall pick, and they traded up 10 spots to go get Devin Bush. So they're not afraid to go and get their guy in a sense. And if I was Kevin Colbert, Brandon Hunt, then also Mike Tomlin, I would be fine with trading up with Malik Willis just because all offseason, what has Mike Tomlin talked about that he wants more of from the
mobility?
It's mobility.
Yep.
It's mobility. And I that just screams either Desmond Ridder or Malik Willis for me. So the Steelers have done a great job as far as having representation at all these pro days. They've been doing their homework and their due diligence on all of these guys. But for them, with Tomlin saying so much about mobility and then combining that with the arm strength, I just think it comes down to Ridder or Willis for them, whether that's at 20 or if they trade up. I really don't know what's going to happen with that, but I think it's something definitely to pay close attention to.
What is your read on Ridder? Because I think, Jordan, I have heard more on him in terms of varying scouting reports. I think everyone seems to love the makeup there, but as far as his actual tools to play the position and how he uses them to play the position, I feel like it has really been all over the map, including I'll say, like, contrasting views on is his footwork bad, yes or no. It's actually his footwork's really good, and that's not a problem. So where do you come down on him overall?
I actually think he's one of the more polished quarterbacks of this group as far as just processing coverages, executing progressions, exhausting progressions, getting to those last resort options all the way down to his check down, and then just executing throws down the field. I think he has all of that. He was just tasked with so many responsibilities in college, and you very rarely see that on the college level just because everything's so signal-based as far as being signaled into the quarterback. Everything's dumbed down to a T as far as making everything so easy on quarterbacks, half field or even full field reads. He did it all. at Cincinnati. The one big worry that's atop the negatives on his scouting report is going to continue to be the ball placement. He'll have a beautiful throw down the sideline, and then he'll completely sail a small check down route to the running back in the flat. Just little inconsistent things like that, and I think it's all in his footwork, which I think are improvable. But the scary thing with accuracy is that there's very few cases of quarterbacks getting better with accuracy over time. But I think you can tweak some things with Ritter. That's why I think with the mental makeup, him already being a dad, he has a lot of things in his background, very, very mature. Character checks out too. So I understand why so many people are big fans of Desmond Ritter. 45 college wins. He's a winning quarterback too. So, I mean, it would make sense why the Steelers would really appeal to him.
Is that Josh Allen accuracy jump, Jordan, warping a lot of people's minds as to how easily attainable that is with the way his accuracy just skyrocketed basically after year one, and then by into year three he was, tearing defenses apart?
Yeah, without question. I think that's just shielding the judgment of a lot of people. And you're going to see a lot of people a lot of teams convincing themselves that they can improve the accuracy with quarterbacks when there's so few quarterbacks that has actually happened. Josh is such a rare case of it working out as far as in his favor. But one thing Josh has always had is that he's had that coaching staff intact during the first 4 years of his career. Brian Daboll obviously is gone now, but for the first 4 years of his career, he was lucky enough to have that staff intact, the same system. And then something that goes unnoticed with Josh is just how hard he works at his craft. That's something that you can't really see as far as on the hoof with Josh, but he works so hard behind the scenes, and that's why I think he was able to get so much better. So we'll see what does happen with these ball of clay that I like to say with some of these guys that may be athletes, but you still need to improve some things in their game, most notably accuracy.
Up and coming NFL draft analyst, this guy his stock is rising. Jordan Reid, ESPN, our guest here. We've talked about quarterbacks, and we haven't touched on the local guy yet, Jordan. Kenny Pickett. You said Willis and Ritter, because of mobility, seem like better fits for what the Steelers want to do under Mike Tomlin. What is it about Pickett that has you, not saying he's going to be a bad NFL quarterback, but has you putting him in a different category than those two guys?
It's just the upside with Kenny. That's something that I question a little bit. I just don't know how much better he's going to get or how much he has left as far as room for growth. And I know he had the big uptick in his production last season, 42 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. I mean, he was phenomenal last year. I think not only me, but it's just going around the league as far as the upside. That's the big thing with him. But as far as maturity, he has it all. Walking through the door, I think he's one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks of the bunch. Once again, he had a lot on his plate from a philosophy standpoint and just a terminology standpoint. He has all of that. But the upside is one thing that's constantly going to be said about him. And I love my colleague Mel Kiper's comparison for him of Derek Carr. I think that's the best-case scenario with Kenny. And Derek's a great quarterback. I mean, you just saw him sign a $100 million contract, an extension with the Las Vegas Raiders. But I think that's best-case scenario with Kenny Pickett. And that's not to say he can't be a great quarterback. I think Kenny can be a good quarterback. But I just think some other quarterbacks in this class have a little bit more upside or a little bit more in their development than Kenny Pickett does right now. But that's not to say that they will ever reach that point. And that's what makes this draft and this quarterback class so polarizing.